We'll get started as everyone joins us.
Okay.
We'll get started as everyone. That's the sign. All right, so let's just go ahead and jump into it. Thank you for being here. I will play DJ, Mr. Cashman, and I'll monitor. Well, actually, Miss Ritchie, would you mind monitoring the chat for us?
I would not mind at all. Absolutely.
Thank you. Since I'm going to present, it's hard to do both of those at once. And we'll kick it off. Let me screen share. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yeah, we see it very well.
Okay.
Awesome. Should we introduce ourselves a little bit?
Yes, please.
Okay, so hi everybody. I'm Eli Cashman. I'm the Dean here at the Virtual Academy. And let's have Amy introduce herself first, then the counselors.
Hi everyone, I'm Amy Murray. I'm a lead teacher for electives in the Virtual Academy.
And I am Emily Ritchie, lead counselor at Calabasas High School, still serving my students in Virtual Academy as well.
And hello, everybody. Mike Lipka, lead counselor at Agora High School, and working with our VA AHS kids as well.
And Ashley Winter, Virtual Academy coordinator.
And Mike, I love your Bitmoji. It's just so. Okay, cool. So our agenda, well, we just had introductions. We'll talk about the different platforms. And this presentation is for middle school and high school families. And we wanted to give everybody as much information as possible. And at the same time, we know that you probably don't want to spend a minute on Zoom longer than you absolutely have to. So we structured it in a way that, let's say, Fuel is for high school and middle school families. And so middle school families, after you hear about Fuel and Peak, feel free to log off because the rest is only going to relate to high school classes. Then we put it in order based on how many students we have enrolled in each platform. So once you hear everything you wanted to hear, feel free to log off. We will not be offended. We will stay here until the end. So we'll talk about Fuel, which is also called Fuel Ed or Fueled/Peak, whatever you want to call it. We'll talk about that one. Then we have Apex and ALVS. We'll talk about what the difference is. We'll talk about UC Scout, and then finally National University. So let's say goodbye to this cool slide because I really like it. All right, so just some general information. All these platforms, whether it's Apex or National University or all the other ones, have some things in common. One is they are all flexible. You can learn from anywhere. You can learn at whatever time works for you. If a student works best at 8 p.m., then that's fine. So that's some of the benefits. It is self-paced, but the end of the semester is the end of the semester. So there is a deadline, right? All the work has to be done by the end of the semester. And while the end of the semester is January 22nd, we set up classes, most of them to end on January 15th. The reason is, just like in the classroom, students don't submit work on the last day just before the bell rings. They usually have a slight buffer to collect the work, process, grade it, and then put it in. So we set those up for January 15th, which is exactly 1 week before the last day of the semester. Of course, some exceptions can be made, but that's how we planned it. And it would help students kind of budget their time a little bit. We'll talk more about budgeting time in a little bit. There's no penalty for late work. So overdue assignments do show, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, but there's no late penalty. So if an assignment was due 3 days ago and I'm just turning it in now, or 3 weeks ago and I'm only turning it in now, still no late work. Those due dates are really to help students budget their time. Next is dual teacher model. Most of the courses have two teachers. They have the LVUSD teacher who's there to help and support, and the expert somewhere on the internet who can help and answer questions and grade the assignments and all that. So there are two teachers, and our LVUSD teacher can help gain access to the other teacher. If you don't know their email or whatever it is, the LVUSD teacher can help. Finally, how teachers record grades. So let's say that a student had to complete 10 assignments by today, and they completed all those 10 assignments, and they have a 90%. At that point on Aries, the teachers will put in a 90%. But let's say that instead of 10 assignments, they only completed 5. So now they're 50% behind, right? They've completed 50% of the work they should have at this point, but they have a 90% for the work that they've done. 50% of the 90 is 45, that would show an F in the class. Now, I know some families were not happy about this because they said, wait a second, you know, the kid is getting a 90%, why does it show an F on Aries? And the reason is, let's think of it the other way around. If we told the kid that they have an A, even though they're really far behind, that would give them a false sense of security. And then at the end of the semester, if they don't complete the course, they would end up failing it. And so one way to give a true picture of how the student is really doing, and that's not just the quality of work, but also how they're doing relative to time. And so that's how the grades are being calculated. The good news is that if a student wants to work over the weekend and catch up with a whole bunch of assignments, they can do that very quickly. We saw that recently. A student worked a little bit slow and then needed to show that grades were improving for a specific reason, worked really hard, did really well, and the grade went from, I think, something like a D to a B. So that's fantastic, and Aries would be updated every 1 or 2 weeks, so you could see that. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide.
Can I just add one note in there as well?
Yeah.
So Aries doesn't have the ability to capture the same detailed information that the platform dashboards capture. Teachers simply record the current grade to date in Aries so that parents and students and counselors all kind of know where a student is in their learning. But a lot of what we'll go through right now is that detailed information and how to read the dashboards so that as students and guardians, parents and guardians, you kind of know how to decode what you see outside of Aries and when a student is on the platform.
I appreciate you telling me that or mentioning that. And so that reminded me of one more thing. A little bit of behind the scenes I want to share is, let's say a student has 70% in a certain course, and the week after that, their grade goes up from a 70 to a 90. Aries, as you know, wants to average those two. So a 70 in one assignment and a 90 in the other would average to an 80, which is not a fair representation of the student's grade at that point. So the way we do it is, you'll see that these classes have two categories on Aries, one worth 100% and the other one worth 0%. And so the 100% category is used for the current grade, so that would be the 90, and the 70 transfers into that 0% category. So it's there so you can see the student's progress over time, but the grade is always accurate to the most recent reading from the course that the student is doing, say Apex. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. A little bit of tips and tricks that would help in any platform. And after this, we'll jump into the specifics and what they look like. So one, we always encourage students to schedule time to meet with the platform teacher during his or her office hours. All of them, whether it's Apex or Peak or National University, all of them have office hours. We encourage our students to meet with the teachers during that time. A lot of times that's in the afternoon, so they can do that after school hours, so they don't have to miss class time. If it is during class time, our teachers are very flexible and are there to support. So it's highly, we really encourage that. And most students have access to the teacher's email. If they do not, again, our LVUSD teacher can help with that. If a student can, we encourage students to take tests before the weekend, before a holiday break. Try to stay ahead of the curve so that you don't fall behind. Tests have to be unlocked, so they have to talk to their teacher, say, I want to take a test. Test is unlocked. Students, our teachers proctor the test, meaning the students share their screen, their camera is on, so we make sure tests are taken the way tests are supposed to be taken. But we encourage students to do that ahead of time so they don't fall behind. And note about holiday breaks. These programs have due dates that are really a guideline of when to complete what assignments so students don't fall behind. The way it works is we tell the program, let's say Apex, when the first assignment is due. And then we say the end of the course is January 15th. And it automatically cascades the due dates based on however many assignments there are. A computer does that automatically. And it does it indiscriminately, meaning it doesn't know when winter break is or when Thanksgiving break is. So you may have some assignments that are due on Christmas Day, which could be, a little inconvenient. And so that's where our students would work with our teachers to say, well, obviously you're not going to work during this day, let's move it ahead, right? So that's where student and teacher interaction comes in. So again, we encourage our students to stay on the Zoom class, talk to the teachers so they can plan their timeline together. Follow the timeline. So on number 3, follow the timeline that is set for you to minimize overdue assignments, complete all assignments on time. And then finally, we really want our students to complete all assignments by January 15th so that they are done in time and so teachers have that 1 week to process and finish. Again, if exceptions need to be made, we can do that, but we really want our students to be done 1 week before the end of the semester. Anything else, team? Go ahead.
Miss Murray and I were looking at some reports today, and we noticed that 14 students have already completed their semester's class to date, and a few more are just about a day or two away from that. And that is, it's possible, obviously, it's certainly not expected. But the reason I share it is because everybody works at a different pace. And everybody feels sort of what makes them feel good about their work and their learning is different for each student. So just a reminder about the holiday breaks. Teachers are not required to check their email over that time. It's a break for them as well. And so if a student wants to use the break, particularly winter break, since it's 2 weeks, to get work done on any of their platforms, they're absolutely able to, but they would need to have a big unit test completed before and then use the 2 weeks to work on anything so that because they couldn't email a teacher over break and say, hi, can you please unlock something for me? Most won't check it. So just sort of a reminder. And conversely, if a student is in a place where he or she needs to just also take a break, please know that that's okay too. And we encourage that too. Again, everybody sort of is fueled by something different, and some like to be productive during that time and some really need the downtime. So whatever your student is needing in that moment, we completely get it, and just want to be mindful of what that looks like for them.
Thanks for that. So now fuel or peak is used for middle school and high school courses. You can see the high school course list is pretty short. We have AP Art History, AP Psychology, and French 3 only. French 2 and AP French are offered through Apex. So that's the way that is. Our middle school list is much longer. Those are all middle school electives for the VA. So we have world art, we have photography, we have Chinese, career exploration, French, health, and German. And this is what an assignment might look like. This is French. I can't read any of this. I'm assuming it says unit 1 and 2. But this is a little bit of what the platform looks like, what an assignment might look like for a student. Let's look at the next page. And here we have a student. Miss Murray, do you want to talk about this page a little bit? This looks like a student who's pretty advanced.
Sure. So this is a student who has worked really hard to get through her French 3 course. She made a schedule for herself very early in the semester and has been sticking to that. And all she has left to do is take the final. So she wants to do that after break. But this is her page and what she sees when she logs in. So she knows how many assignments and points that she has to do. You can see how much time she spent on it. It's really a cool little page. So if you want to see that for your student, I would highly recommend you just sit down with them and have them log in, and it'll show you exactly what they've been doing.
And that bar of percent completed really helps, because you know, if we're halfway through the semester, they should be about halfway through the course. And again, every kid works differently. They might want to dedicate more time to another course and less time to this course, and then shift their attention to this one. But it gives you a little bit of a feel of how they're doing in general. On the left, there is the grade 93.72%.
Something also just to add, because I know we're all asked this question often, Aries has a parent portal. None of the platforms have parent access in that same way. So if as a parent or guardian, you ever want to know kind of more than what Aries is telling you, you would need to use your student's login information to access all of the dashboards.
Very true. So now we have Apex and ALVS, and ALVS stands for Apex Learning Virtual School. So it's really the same platform, but presented in 2 different ways. Regular Apex is when we use our LVUSD teachers to teach the course. ALVS we use mostly for AP courses, NCAA approved courses, and for some world languages. So here's a list of the courses that are offered through Apex or ALVS. There are some more electives actually. And this is what the platform might look like. So here we have our favorite students, our favorite student, and I know we're not supposed to have favorites, but this is Harry Potter. You can see on the upper left. We use Harry Potter as a fake student so we could play around, and you can see Harry Potter is really far behind. He's only 5.9% complete in the course. So again, that bar graph helps with a visual. The grade to date is, oh, can we go back a slide? I know you want to keep me on time, but let's go. Oh, you're going forward. There we go. So Harry Potter is learning psychology. The grade to date is 67%, or almost 68%, with 1 overdue activity. So now let's go back to the next slide. And here, when you roll over, you don't click, just roll over that 67%, you can see that the grade to date is 67%. The quality of work is 78.9. So that's kind of what I was explaining earlier, where if a student has 90%, but they've only completed half of it, it would be 45%. This does it automatically for us. And so because the student has 1 assignment overdue, the 78.9 becomes 67. If they were caught up, it would be 78.9%. So that's where those 2 percentages are.
This might be coming, so excuse me if you're going to say this, but can you talk a little bit about what that means to have an overdue activity if there's no penalty for work?
Yeah, it's really just to help students be caught up on time. If they complete all assignments on the date is due or sooner, they will be done by January 15th with the entire coursework. If they're a little bit overdue, as long as they catch up, they are fine. But it's really a guideline. Again, it's the cascading effect of the first assignment to the last assignment divided by the amount of time that we have. This is a more detailed list of what we might see. So the points possible, frankly, I don't ever look at that, the 1,580, but I look at the assignment. So we can see there's a quiz and a journal, and we can see how the student did on every single one. At the very end, there's the due date and the date recorded. So we could see if a student is working at the pace that they should to be caught up on time, or they are behind. There's that one line that's highlighted, it says overdue. It's simply because the student hasn't done the assignment that was due on the 17th. Again, no late penalty, but they should catch up. The not complete, again, it wasn't done, but apparently this screenshot was taken on the 17th, because if it was on the 18th, it would show up as overdue. Okay, this is a student interface. You can see the circle on the left, the 327. It shows progress as the circle becomes complete. The student completes the unit, and then the other units that are now grayed out become accessible. They can click on it and move on to the next unit. Ms. Murray, do you want to add anything on this?
No, but I mean, it's just the curriculum for the students. So this is basically their textbook. And the way that we have it set up on Apex, where the LVSD teacher is in charge, the student can't move forward into the next unit until they take that unit test. But on ALVS, they're able to access the whole curriculum, the entire curriculum. And then they can go back and take tests. So this is what your student sees when they go in to take quizzes, read whatever literature they're supposed to cover, or watch videos. There are a lot of videos giving instruction for students. That's really important for our languages, and especially for those math and history classes. So this is what your student sees.
All right, let's move on to the next slide. Thank you for that.
As your house DJ for the night, we are very quickly running up upon 5:30, so we obviously should have scheduled this for longer. Like you said at the beginning, we're here, we're going to stay, and we're recording this, so we'll continue to share it out. But if anyone at any point needs to leave to tend to their home life, feel free. And again, we'll share this out with everyone.
Absolutely. And we just have a few slides left. So let's continue. UC Scout, these are the courses that are being offered. Let's continue. And this is what it looks like. Now, as Ms. Winter was saying, parents don't have access to, there's no parent portal. UC Scout is somewhat of an exception to that because you can be added as an observer. So once you go on the UC Scout website, if the parent clicks on access the observer feature and they click on here, let's move to the next slide. They would be taken to this screen. They click on parent of a Canvas user and then click on observing. Your student would have an observer code that they can share with you, and at that point you can log in and see it. UC Scout uses Canvas, so if you've taken a college course recently, you might have worked on Canvas. It's a fairly common platform that's being used. Next, we're on National University. National University offers these two courses, AP European History with their own platform, and AP Human Geo on another program called Edgenuity. It's just a different interface for the two classes. So let's move to the next slide. AP Human Geo might look like this. Again, a bar graph that shows where the student is and that little mark that says where we are today relative to the amount of time we have. And here they're telling you this student is behind. 93% is the grade that they have overall. A list of assignments here with the due dates on the left. Most of them are kind of grayed out. And some examples of what an assignment might look like. We have a few slides for you to look at. So here's another one. You can see that the students can click on the audio to have this part read out loud to them if they need to. Some PDFs are all embedded. Most of the work is right there on the platform.
I think it's helpful too to see that the rubric is listed on the platform so that students know what standards they're being assessed against when they submit something.
And it's good practice to look at it and not just jump in. This is what their grade report might look like. So we can see at the right, he got a 9 out of 9 and 1 out of 1 or 5 out of 5, 40 out of 40. This student is doing really, really well, which is really awesome. One of my former students, and I'm really proud of him. So let's move to another slide. And did we just complete?
That was it.
That was it. We finished actually on time. What do we have, like 40 seconds left? That's fantastic. So thank you, everyone. I hope this was helpful so you could be more familiar with the platforms and help support your child the best way possible.
We are happy to hang for a couple of minutes if anyone has any questions. I know that someone earlier asked what grade is transcribed for seniors, and Ms. Ritchie responded to share that the final semester grade is what's posted onto transcripts, and the 5, 10, and 15-week grades are like progress reports or just check-ins. That is for information only, and the colleges only see what's transcribed.
Okay, are there any other questions on the chat box?
Not yet.
Okay.
If you're watching the recording of this and you do have questions, the LVUSD elective teacher is always here to help if it's related to counseling. Counselors are amazing resources, and then as admin, we're here too. And so you can always send any of us an email and we can get back to you with the information or direct you to the right person. Oh, I see one more. Hold on. How can we, oh, 2 questions. One, is all work due January 15th?
Yes, so yes, all work is due on January 15th. Again, just like in the classroom, teachers give a last day to submit work, even though that's before the last day of the semester. Similar to that, January 15th is the due date for all assignments, and then semester ends. So teachers really have about a week to process everything, and sometimes accept late work that is due just in the last minute. But generally, yes, January 15th for the last day.
And then
any other questions?
Student asked how they can see what transcripted grades were sent to colleges, and Ms. Ritchie replied that the transcripts are viewable in Aries and semester grades are posted the week after finals.
Okay.
All right.
So if there are no more questions, I just want to say thank you very much. Thank you, panelists, for joining us this evening. I really appreciate it.
Mr. Lipka just also shared a reminder that students can always ask for unofficial copies of transcripts too.
Okay, so they should reach out to their counselor for that? All right.
If students ever need an unofficial copy of their transcript for whatever reason, they are able to reach out to their counselors, as we can provide that. The official copies do have to be ordered through the registrar or through the college and career advisors this year.
Okay, thanks for that.
Thank you all for being here. Staff, thank you for being here and supporting. Students who are on and families who are on, thank you. If you're watching the recording of this, thanks for taking the time. As we head into a week of break, we wish you a really safe week. filled with love and gratitude and hopefully some laughter thrown in there. And we will see you after break.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.